Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffin Conversations. And I'm so excited because I have a guest here with me today. You maybe have heard of her. Her name is Gabbie Egan, influencer, mom. I want to say mom talker, but she's way cooler than that. And she also has a tie-dye business called Dicey Dyes located in Cincinnati, right? You got
Yeah.
Cincinnati in
Your
the house.
opening was so much better than my opening.
It takes practice. But
I'm
honestly,
taking
you're
notes.
so good at talking.
Oh, thank you.
We just got done filming her little podcast that she has too on YouTube. Is it called Dicey Digest?
Yes.
On YouTube. You should go check her out if you want to see that part 1 to then our part 2 here. We have been having so much fun. She literally just flew in yesterday and she is turning around and flying out tonight. So we are here just podcasting, hanging out, and having fun. And I wanted to just get right into it. But before we do, so I'm sure you're here, you're like, how is she going to tie Gabbie into death? Don't worry, we'll get there. But before we start talking about death, I really wanted to ask Gabbie some questions that I've been holding off on because I kind of wanted to do it together with us. So I want to talk a little bit about you. And I want you to talk a little bit about yourself. So people that are watching, maybe they'll come check your stuff out too. Maybe they've never seen you before. Because I know we posted some TikToks together and I saw comments and people are like,
Who is she?
Who the heck is Laura? Who's Laura? Who's Laura the Mortician?
Who's Gabriel?
So, and I understand the internet's huge. So, I mean, you're going to have people that you have, and then I'm going to have people that I have. So, a little bit about you. If you were going to describe yourself and the content you make, how would
Girl.
how would you? It's just like daily life, but like mixed with your business, right?
I think Bunny XO explained it the best. A train wreck on the path to the right direction or something like that. With some freaking, pit stops on the way.
Pit stops on the way. Hey, you know what? That's life.
Hot Mess Express.
The Hot Mess Express.
Mom life. Just living.
Just living. And is that how you popped off? So did you pop off in 2020, 2021? Like, what was your journey to being TikTok famous?
So I think for me, the first video that I had blow up actually was just me sitting on the couch breastfeeding my daughter. And
Really?
I wasn't showing my boob or anything.
Oh, but that was it? That was the first one?
Like, I was just like chilling on the couch and all of a sudden I started talking in a Russian accent. And I made a video like, I give baby good vodka. I give baby vodka. And then people thought it was hilarious. It got like millions of views. And then that's whenever people started following me. And I just started like, making funny videos.
Making funny videos, so like little skits kind of like that?
Yeah, I was just like, I was bored in the house with 4 kids at 19, 20 years old. And so me and my kids would just make like skits and like, just be funny together. And then people liked it. I was never expecting it to like transpire into this.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, and now here you are. How many followers do you have on TikTok?
4.5 million, 4.6 million.
Girl, that's awesome.
Pop off.
And she's on YouTube and you should follow her.
Dicey Digest on YouTube. I don't really
Digest.
post like personal videos anymore. I want to, but
it's funny. So if you pop off, people start wanting to know more about your personal life, and sometimes that can be a little weird because you're like, do I share that? Do I not? And then sometimes when you do, people can get really invested in your life.
Yeah, and that's why I had to stop sharing because I was a huge oversharer. I don't know how long you've watched my videos, but for a while I was a huge oversharer, and then I had to like reel it back in because then people thought they were entitled to information, which they're not.
No, and or they're just expecting you to keep sharing that way, and then they form opinions on how you should be living your life. Maybe.
Or like parasocial relationships, they almost get too invested to where it's like I'm meeting people in Target who think we're best friends, and like they see me in Target and they like run up and hug me from behind, and I'm like,
don't touch me.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And it's like, oh my God, I love you so much. So like you about literally made me shit my pants in this Target.
Oh no.
Yeah. So like there's a balance to everything in life, and I feel like social media is one of those things you have to learn the balance that's best for you.
Yep. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I had to know. And I didn't even know about the booby thing. The Russian mom.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, I didn't know. Here I am like
Yeah, I know. Not a lot of people know.
Holding the booby. Okay. So if you don't know, Gabbie, you had kids really young.
Yes.
Like really young.
Both of them.
Were you 13?
I was 13 with my son, and then I was 19 with my daughter.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what was it like having kids so young?
I would say It was, I mean, having a son, like having my first son at 13 was easier on my body, which is kind of crazy. Like the recovery process was like almost like overnight. I had a C-section and then I was like ready to like go the next day. With my daughter, it slowed me down. Like having a C-section at 19, I needed a lot more recovery time. So like physically on the body, it was easy, but like I think the emotional aspect of it, it really was just like, you know, it changed me.
Yeah, you were 13 and you had to grow up overnight and you have a baby.
Yeah,
I'm
then all
sure.
of a sudden I have a kid.
Yep.
So it was definitely, it was different. You know, nobody else who I really was friends with were having kids at that specific time, and I lost all my friends, and it kind of turned me into like just a different person overall.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. And you have 2 kids. I love your mom stuff. I love when you post like with the kids. Or I mean, they just seem so down to earth and just cool like you do.
Yeah, they're a mess. But they're my mess, you know.
Well, I feel like having kids, nothing is ever clean. Like everything is always a mess. Like it's just life is hectic as all hell.
Yes.
So your parents, you posted a few times with your parents too. Were they, when you came home and you told them that you were pregnant, was your mom like ready to strangle you? Was she like in shock? Was she like...
My mom was in denial, and once like my mom bought me a pregnancy test and like she made me take one of the ones she bought me and it was positive. I told my mom first. She did not want me to tell my dad. So she was like, you know,
don't tell dad. What are you gonna like, just randomly?
Well, she just wanted me to wait until like I had to tell him, like, you know, further along. I think that my mom was just worried. Well, my dad was a college basketball coach, so he was in the middle of basketball season when all this was going down, and she was just really worried that like he was gonna lose his mind, you know, over it, which he ended up kind of losing his mind. But my parents were just kind of like, I don't know if it was like disappointment or sadness or anything. I think it was just shock.
Yeah,
like
probably
pure shock. Like they had me in their 40s, like we were talking about earlier, and you know, it was the complete opposite of what they did. They waited until they got married and they were far in their careers and they were established and they owned houses, and I'm 13, like can't even drive a car.
Yeah.
And I'm having a kid. So essentially, you know, I'm just adding a load to my parents' plate at the end of the day because I need a ride. You know, I need...
Yeah, to all your appointments and everything. You're only 13. You're so young.
Yeah.
Like...
My stepson's 12. So that's him in like a year from now.
Oh, and there's no way you could picture that.
Oh my...
No. And you're probably looking back like, how did I even do that?
Yeah, because we look at Elijah and we're like...
like,
LOL. You know, like that would never fly. Like it just wouldn't. No.
So you're probably a lot to the kids like, okay, like you be good.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, I definitely like, I have that conversation. Like Elijah was even like, wow, like you, a year from now, like you had Jalen. And I'm like, yeah. And like, this is real life stuff. Like this can happen. So like you need to make sure that you're making the right choices in life so that you don't end up in the same position as me. But it's also a hard argument to make with kids because they're like, well, you're so successful. You've made this life for yourself. Not with my kids. My kids, you know, they know. But it's like with other younger kids, it's like, oh, well, you did all these things. And it's, well, I had a great support system. And
yeah,
this isn't everybody's story. Like I was like, you know, not an anomaly, but like this, it's very few and far between where you find someone who had a kid at 13 who has created such a great life for themselves. It doesn't happen to everybody.
No.
You know? So that's like what I try to preach. I don't talk that much about like being 13 and pregnant on the internet as I once did, because I felt like I was inspiring these girls to get pregnant young.
Yeah, and that's not the goal here.
Yeah.
I think it's just to talk about your life.
My story. But
Yep,
my
it's your
story can be super impressionable to the younger generation. Like, oh, if I have a kid when I'm 13, I'll be TikTok famous. And it's like, that's...
No, don't do that.
Yeah, that's not how
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not how it works.
No.
So
another interesting thing about you that I didn't realize, and now I'm thinking, I'm like, well, maybe I did realize that, is that you were in the military.
I was, yes.
Did you join at 18?
I was 17, actually. My parents signed over the rights to me. I graduated a year early. So I graduated, and then I was like, listen, I'm broke and I'm working as a server, like, and I just couldn't provide health insurance. Money was definitely an issue. And so I was like, let me just go do this. I'll get free health care. I can go to school if I want to. I had a free ride to college before ever thinking about joining the military. But in order to give all of my time to school, it just like, I don't think that would have gotten me anywhere. Like the military was like my ticket to a house and, you know, money and health insurance and like being able to provide and like also give me structure, because when I was a teenager, I was reckless. I was crazy. And so it gave me that structure to like kind of like become an adult and like push myself outside of that comfort zone that I was already in. So my parents signed the paper and I went to basic training, went active duty.
Now I gotta back up really quick. So your first child, does the dad have anything to do with?
He's came around. He's gotten better. We broke up initially when I got pregnant. So
yeah,
I got pregnant and I thought that we were gonna end up like trying to work it out. And then he was 16 at the time, and so he was like into other girls and all that stuff. So he kind of left me. And then he came around like right before I was about to give birth to Jalen and wanted to make it work. And I was more than willing to do that because I was about to have a baby. I wanted nothing more than to
be together.
Yep. And so, we got back together and I had Jalen. And then I found out that he was cheating on me again.
No.
After I had Jalen with a girl with the same name as me. Her name was Gabriella. And my name's Gabrielle. And she went by Gabbie. And so there was this girl named Gabbie calling him. And so I'll never forget this day I found out. And I was freaking out. And then that was like the end of it for us. Like once I found out that he was like talking to multiple women and stuff, we broke up. And then he kind of just like went off, did his own thing, moved to Texas, went to college. And then now he's kind of circling back. Like he's circling back, but he also has like a wife now and kids. So he's like wrapped up in a whole nother thing. So it's kind of just like it's just like a weird middle gray area.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's life, I guess. But that's a lot for you because, you grew up really fast. And
yeah, I've gotten over that part. Thankfully, like with the therapy that I have been to and like the people who I like my support system and the people I do have to talk to, I've gotten over that hump because that was a huge hurdle for me for a long time. I had so much anger like just built up.
Yep.
Because it was like I tried so hard to like, just like make all of it come together one day and it never did. And so like that was like I used to freak out about it all the time. But now I feel like I've kind of came down from that and I've healed myself from that. And it's like it's okay that things weren't the way that I pictured them.
Yeah. Yep.
And my son's going to be okay. I'm okay. And I just have to learn to live with it,
Yep. Okay, so now circling back again. So to
Sorry.
the military. No, these are all stuff like I wanted to ask you yesterday, but then at the same time, it's kind of nice to have it on the intro to the podcast. This is a new podcast for me. I'm still learning how to structure things and what I want to do. And I want to do collabs with creators because I love making relationships and having friendships and doing all the things. So this is so fun for me. And so getting to know you a little bit better, but then at the same time, they get to know you a little bit better too. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then somehow at the end we get to tie it into my niche and like everything, like
yeah.
still, which, it's everything, it's me, it's chaotic. It's what we do. So anyways, with the military, how long did you do that? And then when were you done?
So I was in for 2.5 years and I ended up getting out whenever I got pregnant with my daughter. So I was supposed to be preparing for a deployment and, in the preparation process of this deployment, I missed my period. And me and Cody had gotten married like a year prior. And we were like, well, if it happens, it happens. We weren't really trying to prevent it or anything like that. And I found out I was pregnant with Zelma. And so I was like, oh gosh, well, I have a choice. I can either, stay in and keep going on in the Army, and I'm going to miss out on a lot. Because even though I joined the Army and I felt like that was like something that I wanted to do, I missed out on a lot of time with my son. So it was kind of like you win some, you lose some. I definitely gained a lot from that, but I also lost a lot of time with my kid over that. And so I just wasn't willing to sacrifice any more time. And so I got out, and that's when we moved to Northern Kentucky, was once me and Cody both got out of the military.
So do you just get a discharge then?
Yeah.
Just a discharge?
Yeah.
The only reason I ask you that is because I have to fill out the paperwork and like I do all this stuff with military honors and stuff, and so I'm like, you see where it's just the discharge, and I wondered like how they release you.
I guess it's a chapter, like it's a pregnancy chapter. So
chapter.
Yeah. So like it's like they have different things that you can like choose. I think that you can even like choose to get out for like religious reasons and stuff. Like,
so when you die, here we go, tying it into death. So when you die, will you have military honors?
I have veteran on my ID. Does that count?
Will you want military honors?
I mean, what does that mean? Like,
they do the gun salute and they do the taps like at your funeral.
A tap?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe.
I hope I don't die soon, though.
No, I hope not either.
Shit.
Actually, if you die young, they probably will. But if you die old, it'll be up to your kids if they want that or not.
My kids will probably be like, my mom was a badass.
Let's do it.
That's so funny.
I mean, you could go out with the taps and everything. I mean, you did serve. You were in it. You were in it. I mean, so it's not like you didn't do it. And if you did it, I mean, I'll have kids, they'll come and they'll be like, well, should we do it? You know, they were really only in for, you know, maybe a year, and then something happened. There was an injury and they left. And I'm like, well, they still served our country, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, well, that says a lot. Like, they still went through the trainings. They still like devoted their life and their time to our country. So I think that that's important.
Yeah. I guess that's a way to look at it. Mm-hmm. I always look back and I'm like, well, you know, both my grandfathers, they retired from the military. So like, I look at them as like, they served, you know, like one of my grandfathers died from Agent Orange, and then the other one, he got cancer later on, but they died for reasons relating to the Vietnam War. And so like, for me, I'm like, I'm a sissy compared to them, like, you know.
But you're not, because I was not mentally ready to go into any. I mean, I did not join the military. I've never served, but I mean, to be 17 years old and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to contribute. But not only to your country, you were looking personally, like you needed insurance and you needed money, but to be 17 years old and say, hey, I want to go into the military, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I guess I don't even know what I was thinking back then. Like, I'd be like, yeah, let me join the army. Yeah. I guess it's like, I'm from a military town. So like, everybody who's like lost, like a lost soul, they're like, I'm joining the army.
Join in the army. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then the army like chews you up and spits you back out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they whoop your ass and then they give you back. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh. I hear like horror stories of, now we're going to talk army stuff. I hear horror stories of like people dying at army camps and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that while I was at not Camp Lejeune, while I was at Fort Jackson going through basic training, I went through it in South Carolina, and I went through it in the summer. And so it is so hot, like hot. And they'll have you out there for like, you know, hours, but you always have water and like stuff like that. Well, apparently like some guy died from a heat stroke, like at a different thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, like, because they do this thing where they make you have it's a water backpack. It's called a Camelback. I used to call it a camel sack. And you have to make sure that that's filled up. And if you don't fill it up, that's your own problem. And so, you know, people would run out of water. Like, people were, you know, weren't responsible, and they would just have to kind of like live with it. And also, you're not eating a lot. Like, you're only eating like smaller portions because you're losing a lot of weight while you're there. You're doing strenuous exercise and activity. Some people just aren't meant for it. And that's why like they do have a whole medical process you have to go through before you even are able to go to basic. But a lot of times people lie because you know that they need housing. They don't come from anything, and so they lie about a lot of the medical stuff, and they make it through MEPS is what they call it. And then they get to basic, and then they end up washing out because, you know, they have medical conditions. So
yep. Man,
it sucks.
Yeah, so you went through all of that.
I did, yeah.
And you were getting ready to get deployed.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like a tour. So like some of us were going to Iraq, some of us were going to Afghanistan, some of us were going to Syria. It was really, I was actually really excited about it. Just because, yeah, it was like a whole entire like months of us prepping for it and like doing all this training, going to the range like every single week, and like it was fun. But I wouldn't go back, I don't think. Like, sometimes I miss it because it was so simple. Like, you wake up, you know, you have PT in the morning, you know, 09 work call, you're at work until whatever time that day, you finish your projects, you go home. It's like, you know, social media is so different. Like, you are in charge of your success. In the army, I wasn't. No. I just showed up and I did it and I'm good, you know?
So that's where you met your husband?
Yeah.
Yep. And how long have you been together?
We've been together, we've been together over 6 years now. Coming like April 1st will be like our actual 6-year like dating anniversary. So April Fool's Day. And then July 23rd will be 6 years of marriage.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you. Are you actually married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you asked me if I was actually married the other day. So
yeah. Well, yeah, because you know some people, they don't get married and it's like, oh, we're married, you know, and
they're not.
They don't do the piece of paper stuff. They're like, oh, it's just a piece of paper. Which, I mean, they're right until you die, and if you don't have anything set up, then I'm gonna be looking at your ex-wife if you're still legally married to her, but you but you got the piece of paper and you you didn't get the piece of paper, you skipped it. But if you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
You skipped the divorce paper.
You skipped the divorce paper and you didn't really legally marry this woman. I can't have her make your decisions unless you have a healthcare directive or something set up that says that she can.
Like a power of attorney or something.
Power of attorney ends at death.
It ends at death?
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to yell at you.
Yep, ends at death. So got to have a healthcare directive, get your wills done. Yeah, you got to have all that. That's why it's so important to go to a estate planning attorney, because they help you plan everything out.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that a power of attorney ends at death.
Ends at death. You wouldn't believe the people. They come in and they're like, I am the oldest daughter and I have power of attorney, so I get to make all the decisions.
And you're like, joke's on you.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. That is not how today is going to go. You have 5 other siblings. Our state is a majority rule state. You don't get to make all the decisions unless you have a different piece of paper other than that power of attorney, because that ended at death. And then they look at me and then they get really mad because they don't. They didn't. So power of attorney is great. That allows for people to make decisions for you while you're alive. But as soon as you die, it's out the window. That
There's
also
too much paperwork.
I know. There's a lot of paperwork with death. Death and taxes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on the IRS, man.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about haters in the last one. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I know I already said this, but I'm going to say it again because I do really, really admire you. Like, I really like you. I look not only me, but I know that there's other people online that look up to how you are able to carry yourself, handle yourself, but then also with the people are fucking like downright mean to you.
Yeah.
Online. Like, they are so horrible to you. How are you so unbothered? How do you handle the hate? Like, is that just something that comes over time? That's something you've handled? Or do you think that's just because you've lived so much life that, I mean, you had a baby at 13 years old.
Yeah, and that's
and
like,
you're already used to people judging you and not being nice. I imagine that would be hard to have a kid at 13 and you like make your way through life. Would you say it has more so to do with your life and how you were brought up and what happened? Or would you say that you've just been online so much, everybody's kind of said everything they could possibly say to or about you and you're kind of like, meh?
I think because I've faced so much like real life criticism, like, so, you know, since starting whenever I was 13, like, you know, the church, like I said before, like the church had, you know, things to say about me to my parents. And then my friends had a lot of stuff to say about me, which wasn't necessarily to my face. It was like, you know, just about me in general, like, you know, amongst each other. And like just hearing so much negativity built around myself was just like, you know, kind of a shock. And in the beginning, like, it really did bother me. Like, I think that was part of the reason I went so crazy when I was a teenager, was because so many people like disliked me, mainly just because I had a kid so young. And I still was like, you know, in school, like pushing myself. And I was like, I'm really like trying to beat the odds here. And like, nobody has any like hope for me. Like, everybody just wants negativity upon me. And so something switched in my brain one day when I was probably like, you know, 15 or 16 years old. And I was like, I'm going to prove all these motherfuckers wrong. And since that day, like, everything that anybody else has to say about me, like, if you don't know me in real life and you don't participate in like my everyday activities and you're not like with me and you're not like a part of my group or my family, what does your opinion, like, does it actually like affect me in any way? And if the answer is no, I laugh. Like, the internet is the internet. I have never had somebody come up to me, and I own a storefront. I meet hundreds of people. I've met thousands of people since that follow me online since opening. And not a single person has ever walked up and said a hate comment to my face. So like, that's what it's like for me. It's like, I've met thousands of y'all and none of y'all have came and said any of this to my face,
So
you know?
just keyboard warriors.
So it's keep on typing away on the internet and I'm going to keep on laughing and doing my thing, because it doesn't change anything. Like, people having negative opinions on you, it doesn't change anything like with who you are or like where you're going. You just have to remain true to yourself. And like, yeah, it might be like, you might be ugly sometimes on the inside and the outside, or like whatever the case may be, but just let people talk and like keep doing you. And the people who are going to love you and support you are going to do that regardless, you know? And the people who are going to hate are going to do that regardless, you know? So you just have to like learn to let go, like learn to forgive and like learn to love and love yourself, I think, is like the biggest thing, you know?
I love that so much. I loved everything about that.
I don't know. It's just like me rambling, but
that was really good. I mean, there's going to be people listening to this that they've seen some of the things that you've been hated for. They've seen the comment sections. They've seen, I mean, people can be downright cruel online. And I think for somebody to see what you've gone through and then to hear those words that just came out of your mouth, that might be really inspiring to them. Maybe they've thought about becoming a content creator. Maybe they want to make mom content. You, with what you just said, I mean, that was really beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I just feel like people worry about like what everybody is saying too much, you know? And that was like one of the first things, like we connected over like dark times, you know?
Yeah.
Like, dark times. And like that was like, I was like, Lauren, fuck these people, man. You know? It's like, keep doing you. Like,
Yeah, just keep going.
there's so many people that love you and you help so many people, you know? And so it's like, don't let this group of negative people stop you from doing good, you know, because you do a lot of good, even though there's some bad, you know, everybody does some bad.
It's life.
Everybody does. And so it's like, you know, screw them.
Put it on a shirt.
Yeah, screw them.
I've been saying that all week. Like she'll say something like, "Oh, put it on a shirt," because that's what she does, and they're so cool. I was watching you do where you apply the picture and then you peel it off the shirt.
Yeah,
and I'm like, gosh, you should make funeral shirts.
If you ever come to Cincinnati, you gotta make some. I'll let you use the press.
I would love to do that. That'd be so cool.
It's actually really fun if you've never done it before. Now it's boring to me and I hate it, but not hate it, but it's like, damn, I gotta press 200 shirts.
It's
you know?
your job. Yeah,
it's like a job. Yeah,
that's
for sure.
I wanted to read a couple emails.
Oh yeah,
that I got
the ghost stories.
Yes, I got ghost stories. So I put out a call on Facebook, and I had asked people to submit me their ghost stories. I don't know what I was expecting. Not only did I ask for ghost stories, but I asked for funeral horror stories. Maybe they had a good story. Maybe they had something positive they wanted to share. I wanted to read it. So I put the call out and I got hundreds of emails. So I'm still like sorting through them. But if you're watching this and there's a ghost story that you want to send me, you can send it to laurenthemortician@gmail.com. I think I'm going to be having my sister help me start going through these, but I would still love for you to send them, and the more details, the better. So I think what I'll do is I'll read one, and then you read one, and we'll kind of go back and forth.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
These are good. Like I saved these for you, and a couple of them I have read in advance because I had a live on my Patreon, and I read these to them. Okay. And we have a lot of fun. If you don't follow the Patreon, you should. If you enjoy these ghost stories, which I think you're going to. We were going to read these on yours and we didn't.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
My podcast was long, girl.
Okay, I'm going to hit you off with a really good one right at the beginning, okay? So this is from Amanda, and it says, "Hi, Lauren. I just want to say thank you for everything." Oh, actually, this melted my whole heart. She goes, "You're my biggest inspiration." Thank you, Amanda, for submitting this. Love you. Okay. So it says, "Many, many years ago, I had a best friend who had a pretty rough life. We met in the 3rd grade, and we were besties all through high school. Her biological mother had her at 16. Put her up for adoption, and her grandparents adopted her. Her biological mom would come and go from her life often. I won't go into much detail about the relationship between my bestie and her mom, but just know that it was bad. In 8th grade or so, my bestie had a birthday party where we did our best attempt at talking to ghosts." Is this a universal experience? Did like your friend randomly pull out on a Ouija board?
Not a Ouija board, but we used to try to play Bloody Mary in the bathroom with the lights turned off.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've gotten freaked out before.
I couldn't do that. I had somebody, maybe I'll have to find that story, where people have said that weird things happen to them after they do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like,
what happened to you?
Up all night. Like, you can just almost like feel like something is like touching you almost. Like, oh my God.
No.
Yeah, no. Never would do it again. I would never play Bloody Mary again.
0 out of 10. Don't recommend.
Yeah, 0 out of 10.
What do you mean by play it? So you both look in the mirror and you say?
Yeah, you like turn off the lights. I can't remember exactly how we played because I was probably like literally 10 years old when we did this. But I remember like feeling some like almost like the bathroom got like cold. And it was like somebody was there with us. And like it was like the rest of the night we were paranoid about it. We thought we saw something in the mirror. Like the mirror started glowing. And it was like super. My mother-in-law used to play Ouija board in the old house we lived in. And there was a ghost in that house. I have stories for days about that.
Okay, well, I'm glad that doing spooky things is like a universal we grew up story. Because we did that too. Yeah, Ouija board at my friend's house and then immediately regret it. Mm-hmm. But we still did it again.
Anyways.
Okay. So she's at a sleepover. They're trying to talk to ghosts. And at which time all the adults were in bed, so they were alone. We asked the ghosts if they were present, and the lights flickered. We didn't think much of it. What do you mean you didn't think much of it?
Right.
Okay. Maybe they thought it was just a coincidence. We kept asking questions, and then nothing would happen. So that night, we all went to bed around 2 a.m., but something didn't feel right. Just like you said, like that feeling. I didn't feel like we were alone, but I just figured I was overthinking it. That night, I had a dream that I was talking to a little girl in my friend's yard. We talked about my best friend a lot, and at the end of my dream, the little girl says, "Tell her Mom put me in the backyard." I woke up screaming. My best friend calmed me down and said it was just a bad dream from ghost hunting. It just push it off, not a big deal. Couple of years later, someone gave an anonymous tip to the Baraboo Police Department saying a dead baby was buried in their backyard. Here is the link to the news article about the body they had found. So this is off the email. I ended up talking to Amanda personally. She had that dream that there was a little girl in the backyard. What ended up is that there was a baby that was buried in the backyard. Her biological mother had had another baby and had buried it in the backyard.
Did it come out dead already? Or?
She tells them that it did, but they don't know. So she sent me the news article to the story, and that was the biological mom.
So that's the biological mom that had the kid at 16, right?
So when the little girl said in the dream, when she said, tell her Mom buried me in the backyard, that was her best friend's sister in her dream that told her that, and she was buried in the backyard.
So she must have killed the kid.
I don't know.
There's no way. Or buried it alive. That's my conspiracy.
So it says here, a Baraboo mother has been arrested on allegations that she buried a baby in her family's yard 5 years ago. Reportedly, the infant had died during childbirth, and the mother buried the body of the child in the family's yard without notification to any proper authority. They arrested her, she's 33 years old, on tentative charges of concealing the death of a child. After receiving a tip about the case, police searched the property at the mobile home park with assistance from the state crime lab and a cadaver dog, and the dog located the burial location. Authorities found the remains of an infant during an excavation of the yard that were consistent with the information provided. The mother admitted to the alleged crime during an interview with investigators.
How do you do that?
I don't know. But can you believe that she had that dream and tell her that Mom buried me in the backyard?
That's how you know, like, how we were talking earlier about the afterlife, like, and that there's no way that it's just, like, nothing. Like, you can feel energy.
Yes.
Like, you can feel it. Like, I'm one of those people, you can call me crazy all you want, but I can feel, like, presence. Like, if I'm home alone or something, like, sometimes I swear, like, I feel my grandma. Like, I can feel her. Like,
Yeah.
in me. It's like I get goosebumps and it gets cold and, like, you know, sometimes it's not a scary feeling necessarily. It's just like you can feel presence, you know?
No, yeah.
I believe in that.
No, it's like we're here in the room and I know you're here. So like you're here, like your energy, your presence is here. It's kind of the same thing, but then it's kind of not, because it's like this, I call it a heaviness, like it's a heavy feeling.
It is.
Where you're just, it's not so much like a paranoid, like you feel like you're being watched, you kind of do, but it's more like just this heaviness.
Yeah.
That's how I know that I'm not alone, like at the funeral home or in the morgue.
Yeah, you can feel like in especially like old abandoned buildings and stuff. Like I've explored like a lot of abandoned places, which I don't really talk about that online a lot. But
where's the vlogs for those?
I know, because it's illegal to like a lot of them have no trespassing.
Don't do that.
But like I've explored places, especially like back home in North Carolina and stuff, like abandoned power plants and like abandoned schools. Like one of the creepiest places I've been to is an abandoned school. Like an old school. Like you can feel like that presence there.
Ooh, maybe we'll have to find some abandoned places to go to. Oh, allegedly. No.
I don't think it's that illegal, but like, you know,
it's probably frowned upon. Like,
yeah, it's probably like frowned upon. One time we did get lit up by cops at a power plant, and they just told us to leave. Like they just, yeah. So we just left and never went back.
This one's from Caitlin, and she's I love Caitlin. She's in the Patreon. I'm like, oh, like talking to you like you would know her. She's from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, let's see.
Pass the baton.
Hey, Lauren, it's Caitlin. I thought I'd finally write in. About 10 years ago, I was 18 and hopping from job to job. At one point, I got hired on the spot at a rundown hotel in my town in Minnesota. I worked morning shift. After I was done training, I was, of course, on my own at the front desk. Honestly, I could never work at a hotel front desk.
No?
Not by myself. You know the people that just come in there and they like, that's already creepy within itself.
Well, there's cameras and, I mean, well, but I don't.
Imagine working at night at a hotel.
No.
Front desk.
No.
You are in charge.
I'd rather work at the morgue.
Yeah, I think I would too at that point. Part of my job was to also fold laundry. So when there wasn't any guest at the front desk, I would open the door to the right behind me by the front desk and do laundry. The owners were really cheap and nothing was updated. Our time clock was one of those old school ones where you push the paper and it stamps the card. Next to the time clock, there was a small brown old school TV. It was a live screen of the camera at the front desk so I could see the guest at the front while I would be folding. So like kind of like a security camera.
So she's in the back room and she's folding laundry, and so she can see when somebody comes in.
And there's like an old brown TV.
I can picture it.
Yeah, me too. I can picture it now. Well, one morning I was doing just that, folding laundry, and I look at the live TV stand or the screen, my bad, and I see a woman hanging by a noose rope right in front of the front desk.
Ooh, that just gave me chills.
Me too. She had almost like a white cloth type of outfit and really long black hair covering her face. My heart stopped and I almost shit myself. Period. Like me too, girl.
I would have peed a little.
I would have definitely ran out of there. I slowly open the door and I look at the front desk and nothing is there. Then I hurry and turn my head and look at the screen, and it was still there. This happened every time I would look. I was scared shitless and went out of the back door and took my ass upstairs to the second floor and stayed there until my shift ended. I only lasted about 2 weeks there, so I worked a few more shifts at that place and never went back. I honestly wouldn't go back either. I told you that sounds terrifying as soon as I heard about the job. Like, no.
I feel like you wouldn't have gone back. You would have been like, no, and just never went back.
Yeah, I mean, she says that I know sometimes our mind can play tricks on us, but explain how this happened. I continued to see this woman on the news for minutes on that screen. The hotel isn't an old one, and I didn't hear about any deaths that may have occurred there either. The spirit had to have been there from a long time ago, and I'm thinking that by the way that she was dressed, which, yeah, if she's wearing like a long and... Anyways, thanks so much, Lauren, for reading my crazy story. I have a few, but this one takes the cake. It was yeah, it was the closest I ever came to shitting myself. Well, girl, I've shit my pants a couple times, so it's not even because it was scary.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, girl. Dude, honestly though, like that, like working at a front desk, it has to be like, I could never, not with somebody else, sure, but like alone at a hotel, no, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
Hotel lobbies in the middle of the night are creepy. Have you ever been down to one? Like not like a nice hotel. I'm talking about like, you know, like a Comfort Inn. I mean, that's nice, but like, you know what I mean?
Not
like,
the Comfort Inn.
No, God, please don't. I stay at Comfort Inns. Like, not like, I'm just giving an example. Like,
not sponsored by Comfort Inn.
Not sponsored by Comfort Inn, but if you want to, I love your hotels. But like, you know, like a Ramada, like you go, there's only like one, it's kind of eerie, it's dark, there's like a coffee machine that's like gurgling.
Yeah, we love your hotels during the daytime hours.
Yeah, just like night, it does get a little bit,
a little bit sus.
Especially when it's not fully booked. Like there's just like, you know. Anyways, sorry.
You have a great voice for reading emails.
Honestly, like I'm a little dyslexic, so sometimes I can't remember what line I'm on. Oh, thank you.
So this is from William. And he says, so about 10 years ago, I was house shopping and I saw a house that I wanted to look at. The realtor said that the listing wouldn't be available to show it for a few days, but that I was welcome to go to the house and look at the property, and I could look in the windows and just, it was vacant, he said. So I parked in the driveway and walked around a little bit and started to look in one of the windows when a really old man came out of the house and asked, "Can I help you?" I told him what the realtor had told me, and his reply was, "This is my house. It's not for sale. I've lived here all my life." I apologized and left thinking I had made a mistake, even though there was a for sale sign in the front yard. Later, when I spoke with the realtor, he told me again, nobody lives there because the children of the previous owner were selling it because their father had passed away a year prior. I did end up buying the house. No, you did not. You bought that house after I would not have bought.
He bought it anyways?
He bought it anyways. Would you have bought a house if you walked
No.
up and some man came out and you ended up piecing together it was actually a spirit?
No, because he definitely still lives there. Like the spirit.
He thinks he does.
Yeah.
I've talked to, do you follow Amy Boleski?
Sounds very familiar.
She's
A medium?
medium.
Yeah.
She talks to dead people, and she says that different people have, so like when we die, we're energy, and we go to a higher vibration, we go to a lower vibration. So it's kind of like heaven and hell, but it's not heaven and hell. It's not like what they read us and she says that the higher vibrations, our spirits go to a place where we consider our heavens. So sometimes when we see spirits, they're in their version of heaven. So to me, when she says that, I can totally relate that to this story, because this man thought that this was his house and that's his heaven. So he's there, and maybe his spirit is just reliving until he reincarnates.
Or something. Or finds a different version of heaven, or thinks of somewhere else, that... Yeah. I feel like that's how maybe spirits travel, is like they think of like, where do they want to be? Like what,
Yeah. Really interesting. So he bought the house, and through some research found out that the house was built in 1894, and only one family had owned the house since it was built. And a picture that the library had from the 1900s showed, I'm almost positive, a younger version of the man I had talked to. Thank you for reading my story. Nobody believes me, but it did really happen.
I believe you.
We believe you, Bill.
Yeah.
We totally believe you.
I mean, houses carry like spirits for sure. Like my mom was a realtor, and I used to go into like vacant houses, that were like on the market. And sometimes you would go into a house and be like, oh, someone's here.
Yep.
Like you could just feel it. And like I used to do like photography for homes for my mom and like take pictures of houses. And some houses I would be scared to go in by myself, because it was like you go upstairs and you feel claustrophobic, like somebody's there with you, and it's like there's nobody here. Like my mom used to think I was crazy, but it's like, no, I can feel it. Like there's something up.
I have been to death scenes. So when I was in college, I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, but when I was in college, I did corner calls. And so what they are is the funeral home will have a contract with the morgue, and the medical examiners, it's not like in the movies like CSI where the medical examiner shows up and they have the van and they take the person and they bring them back to the morgue for the medical examiner's office for the autopsies. We do as the funeral home. We have the vans, we have the insurance, we have the equipment. So I show up. It was always really sudden death. So it could be homicide, suicide, car accident, stillborn, anything that wasn't a medically like, hey, they had cancer, any sort of death. That's what I went on. And the reason I did it, I look back, I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I was really young doing this. And I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the things that I saw. But anyways, so I would go on the corner calls, what we call them. And we went to a call where a gentleman had taken his own life, and he was in his bedroom. And I walked in with the medical examiner, and her and I just stopped, and I literally watched the hair on both of our arms stand up. Like I looked, she looked, we both have goosebumps. And she looked at me, I looked at her, and she said, "Do you feel that?" And I said, yes, I do feel that. And she said, he's still here. He's still here with us. And we just didn't utter a single word to each other. We quickly put him in the body bag, and I left there as soon as I possibly could. It's just and for both of us to have a reaction like that,
You're making me like.
Are you getting sweaty?
Yeah.
She was showing me. She's like, I get anxiety sweats.
And they're so bad too. Like,
and like now I'm sweating. Ah!
like literally so bad. Dude.
Normalize the pit sweat.
I know. I need to get Botox in my armpits or something.
That's a thing?
I think.
Mm.
I sweat bad. You sweat like that?
I use like the clinical deodorant because like ever since I had kids, like my whole body, like just everything changed, like the sweat glands and everything.
I probably should get some of that clinical shit.
I hate the clinical stuff. Because it's got like freaking aluminum or something. I want to die. I've not read this one.
Oh,
so here you go.
Okay. Let's see. Fresh meat. Fresh meat. Hi, Lauren. My name is Sam, and this event took place at a funeral home in West Virginia. Or West Georgia, not West Virginia. Okay, West Georgia. Shout, represent. So from my early 20s, I was a paramedic. We worked in a very small rural community, and most of the time, if someone passed away overnight, you would call the funeral director and the ambulance. We would take the body straight to the funeral home. One particular night, we were taking a body down to the funeral home of our owner. The joke was that if you said good morning, good evening, good night to Miss Hightower, wait, what? To Miss Hightower should get the lights on for you. Wait, I'm confused. So
it sounds like the funeral home has a ghost and they've named her Miss Hightower. So if you walk in the building and you say, good morning, Miss Hightower.
Oh,
she'll
she
turn
would get the lights on for you. Okay.
What a friendly ghost.
So we jokingly walked down the stairs and said, good morning, Miss Hightower. And the lights kicked on in the morgue. I wouldn't know what to do with myself, to be honest.
It just flips on?
Yeah, just like, that's what they say. They said, and the lights kicked on in the morgue. We were convinced that this had to have been like some sort of automatic trigger or something on the light that naturally flicked on as we left the basement. We came back several hours later for a shift change and the lights were still on. So jokingly, my partner said, well, good morning again, Miss Hightower, and the lights cut off.
Yep, it's haunted.
Yeah.
Miss Hightower is Miss Hightowering.
She's the morgue ghost. She always was a calming spirit, never gave us any negative energy. However, when my grandmother's funeral was in the same funeral home, I actually got the chance to see what I called to this day a wispy apparition. What is an apparition?
They saw the ghost.
Oh, okay. Going down the stairs to the morgue. I'm convinced that was Miss Hightower just checking on an employee in a time of need. Oh, that's kind of sweet.
That is really sweet. So he knew that Grandma wasn't alone.
Yeah.
Or Miss Hightower.
Hightower
knew Grandma wasn't alone.
Now my husband would have some stories to tell. He works at KSU in Georgia, which was formerly Southern Polytech State University. One night, group of officers and him were walking through the building, and things started to get thrown at them. His inquisitive side decided to go back with the same group of friends and audio record and try to talk to some of the entities. Well, he found one, and his name was Jerry. I have never in my life seen my husband so scared of something that he heard on a recording. He was actually going through the headboard and out the back wall of our house. He tried to buck back, I guess, and almost went through the headboard. I love hearing stories of the supernatural and paranormal. Some of it you can weed out and go, that sounds a little fake. But for the most part, the calming stories give me so much sense of peace. Same, Samantha. I always wanted to go to mortician school. I had the opportunity, but unfortunately it wasn't the right time. I now work as a nurse at the third largest correctional facility in the state of Georgia. Talk about ghost stories at the correctional facility.
I know.
I guess there's always time to go one day for another second career. Whenever you're reading a long email and it's this big and my eyes are squinted up, I'm not a good reader.
I get anxiety that I'm going to lose my spot.
That's why I started using the mouse.
Yep. There was one I really wanted to read, and of course, I love this story because of the photo that comes with it. And I'm going to read it to you because I want to see what you think of the photo that came. So it says, we lived in a house in Muhlenberg County, Kentucky. It was a rental house, and it was my mom, dad, older brother, myself, and a younger sister. My mom and my brother were big in paranormal investigation shows and whatnot. I was interested, but not as much as they were. Well, my sister was sitting in her room watching cartoons, and she just kept screaming, "Shut up, leave me alone." And so we went to see what was wrong because she was by herself in there, and she said she was talking to the man. We had no clue who she was referring to, and she was in kindergarten, so she's not going to really be able to tell us. Time had passed and more things were happening, such as the water in the bathroom would turn on out of the blue, and the night light in the hallway would come on in broad daylight as if someone was walking in front of it. Okay, that would get me.
Oh, yeah.
That would get me. My mom and my brother started talking to the ghost. That sounds like a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. And just basically telling it to be friendly. Okay, that's not so bad. Well, the pictures in the bathroom were flipped upside down and sitting on the floor, which means that they didn't fall off the wall, or they wouldn't have been upside down because they would have just busted. They set up cameras in our living room and started taking still shots in the formal dining room where my sister's bedroom door was. In the picture attached, the blue light is coming from the TV in her room, shining into the dining room. They caught what appears to be a silhouette of a man standing in the dining room. After further investigation, we found out that the owner's father had passed away in that bedroom where my sister's room was. So he died in there. I didn't pick up on that. He died in there, and so her room was the room where he had died. That makes sense that he would be in there, I guess. Maybe that was his version of heaven, was his room.
Yeah.
He was a tall and lanky man, which is kind of what you see in the picture. So we referred to him as John from then on out. Random. All right, John. Because the owner's father's name was John. Not so random. John Swan. Once we started calling him by his name, he never bothered anything else. Oh, that's actually
kind of sweet.
That's actually kind of sweet. He just wanted you to know that he was there.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Some ghosts aren't bad.
No. I've always wondered if he is still in the house or not, and if other people have had paranormal encounters there. And I just wanted to clarify, I would love if you could share this as a story time on TikTok or other social media. My name is Bethany. Well, Bethany, it's probably going to be on the TikTok-aroo. So here,
It's your lucky day.
So I want to show you this picture, and it might take you a second. It might take you a second to see it. It shows the dining room. It shows her bedroom door. So it looks like there's something weird on the floor there to the left, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking in between the door and the table, and you can see his head. I see an arm. I see his leg. I almost wonder if I see an appendage there that shouldn't, it's going to take you a hot minute. It looks like energy.
Oh, no. Yeah, I see that.
Do you see how it looks like a person?
Yeah, but yeah, I do.
He's standing there.
Now I would have to move. I'm sorry. Friendly or not, I'm leaving. I mean,
out.
Hell no. Because if I woke up and saw that in my living room, no. I mean, love you to death, John. But, I own this house now, and I cannot be waking up to ghosts.
I am the owner of this house.
I am the owner of this house.
No, John. But hey, at least he was friendly, and at least he left. He just wanted to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Most ghosts want to be left alone, or they want you out of their house, and maybe he just wanted them to know that he was there too.
I think that was our problem with Sarah. My mother-in-law played Ouija board at the house that me and Cody lived in when we first moved to Kentucky. And they played Ouija board and they asked her name. She said Sarah. And then, but she was not friendly, I don't think.
Oh.
Sometimes she was, but they asked her why she never left the house. And apparently back in the early 1900s, she lost her children, her children passed away. And I think that she was disturbed from that or something. And when we moved in with the baby and stuff, I would be home alone and I would hear her walking in the hallway, to the point where I would leave the house. Like, it was not cool.
Walking. So you'd hear the footsteps?
Oh, like,
Or the creaking of the floor?
it would sound like Cody was getting out of bed and like walking down the hallway.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I'm glad I missed that house, but I'm glad we're out of there because Sarah definitely lives there still.
My anxiety of hearing and like knowing, and then if it just stopped.
Yeah, imagine being home alone. It's just you and the baby. You're sitting on the couch downstairs, and all of a sudden you hear like your husband walking upstairs, and there is no one with you. I mean, I ran out of the house. Like, didn't want to go back in. Like, I could feel the energy. Like, I was like trying to get my stuff like to get out of there. And then it would stop for a while. And then like every once in a while, she would just be there again.
She'd come back again.
Mm-hmm. It was weird.
That's why I love talking about these stories, because you can almost feel crazy when you have something happen to you. If it's supernatural, if it's something you just can't explain, like it's kind of a common theme in these emails. They'll be like, nobody believed me, but this happened. We can't all have similar experiences and then there not be an afterlife, or there not be ghosts aren't real. Like when everybody is having, they're not totally similar, but they're in nature.
Yeah.
We're all kind of having these unexplainable experiences, and that's why I just love talking about them and sharing them, so that if you've ever had something happen to you, just know that there's other people out there too.
So many. Like, I've met so many people who like knock it, but then they're like, well, like that did happen, but like it had to be something else. And it's like, see, you know what I'm talking about though. Like, you've experienced it, but you just don't want to acknowledge because you're scared that it could be paranormal. I think a lot of it is the fear. Yeah. Like, you know,
because it confirms it. It makes it real.
And they don't want, like, people don't want to think that like that could even be a possibility. Like, that scares them. Like, it scares their mind. But it's like, if you just like accept it, like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going and doing some ghost hunting in a couple weeks, like with the equipment and stuff. And I can't wait to share about it.
I've done that in St. Augustine before. They have a haunted castle, and like they give you like these energy readers almost, it seems like, and you go through and like you can hear ghosts talk. It didn't happen to everybody that was there, but like it happened to certain people that were in groups, and it was like shocking whenever you hear the voice come through it. And you can't really make it out, but then you can kind of like, it's weird.
I've never heard that in person. I've only ever seen it like on TV and stuff, or the other investigators. So I'm looking forward to.
It's gonna make your heart drop.
Alrighty, I'll be ready.
Yeah, you will be. You're gonna love it.
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming, filming this with me. This has been so much fun, and the fact that we got to do this together is just. I just honestly, I can't even believe you're here.
I can't either. We're about to have fun though.
I know. So why don't you tell them where they can follow you, like on TikTok and YouTube and stuff once more? And you should check out your socials so then they can go see the second part to this.
Yeah. So my social media, my TikTok is at @babyegan_. My Instagram is at @babyegan. BBYEGAN. BBY. People call me BB Egan. But yeah, Gabbie Egan pretty much on every single platform. And I post stuff.
I post stuff and people watch.
And people watch it. So yeah. And thank you for inviting me out here. I mean, this has been so much fun. I'm in, you know, a sacred space right now that not a lot of people get to come to. So I feel honored to be here and to meet your grandma and stuff. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you could leave a comment, let me know what you thought, who else you'd like to see on the pod. Hit the like button. Love to have you here. Sending love to you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.